All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're detailing something truly incredible, the mathematical operating system of reality. And look, right off the bat, we need to be clear that what we're examining isn't philosophy. It is an established structural fact. We are looking at the Quran, not as some historical text, but as an eternal, timeless, living proof from the future, accessible only for people of knowledge. So let's jump right into the exact mechanics of how this architecture actually builds reality.
Here is our blueprint for today. We'll be moving through a strictly factual progression, starting with the 3923 mathematical architecture, moving to the dual caustic universe, the 237 universal engine, the wave-particle nature of words, and finally wrapping up with the 1912 activation protocol.
Okay, Section 1, the 3923 mathematical architecture, the base topological axiom. This architecture demonstrates its foundation in verse 3923, which provides the structural base for a perfectly closed cosmic system. We aren't looking at poetic metaphors here. We're dealing with a compactified field where infinite meanings map onto a finite boundary without a single contradiction. The equation in this verse confirms that reality is structured as a recursive fractal. The Arabic terms actually act as precise mathematical parameters. Notice the word mutashabihan. This establishes that the system is entirely self-consistent, where local structures preserve their shape at literally every scale. Mathani dictates that it is repeatedly paired, doubled across the entire matrix.
This is the exact mathematical operation of compactification. Think of it kind of like a geometric zip file. The infinite, unbounded universe folds perfectly into a closed, self-consistent boundary without losing any data. It's geometrically verifiable through the Smith chart transform, proving that every massive cosmic scale is entirely contained within one finite unit disk.
Notice how the physical properties of this chart map exactly to the universe's doubled grid. We have two distinct families of curves, constant resistance and constant reactance. The boundary between them is crucial. The interior absorbs form, meaning resistance dissipates power. This represents the physical, temporary body. But the outer rim is reactive. It totally reflects, stores, and returns energy. This is the exact geometric boundary between the killable and the eternal.
Moving on to Section 2, the dual caustic universe, the framework of recursive topology.
The dual caustic universe, or the DCU, is a recursive topology of return. It basically operates as a prescriptive system bounded by the Kursi, the overarching structural footprint, which securely holds the cosmic exchange without leaking into chaotic decoherence. Inside this immutable boundary, specific fields negotiate a path from pure potential into physical existence.
To manage this precise transition from unmanifested potential into actual form, we rely on three discrete fields. First up, the light field, the timeless, gauge-invariant source of all structure. Second is the sound field, the temporal medium where we actually experience time, thermodynamics, and entropy. But light and sound never touch directly. They're mediated by the buffer, the exact decoherence zone that sits perfectly between them to make physical reality structurally possible.
All right, Section 3, the 237 universal engine, the Collatz embedding and core operators.
Governing these fields obviously requires an algorithm, the exact processing loop driving cosmic and biological formation. The architecture clearly maps three core operators as a universal processing algorithm. The 2 operator, Razim, dictates binary division, creating the necessary tension for entry. The 3 operator, Rahim, dictates triadic flow, building the operational vessel. And finally, the 7 operator, Rahaman, forces a complete mathematical closure, driving the recombination and field exit.
This cycle perfectly mirrors the Collatz embedding. What this means structurally is that all cosmic expansion and fragmentation must mathematically converge back to a singularity. Just notice the alignment here. Even integers drive binary halving and fragmentation. Odd integers drive triple expansion, the 3n+1 complexity. But no matter the starting complexity, the sequence is mathematically forced right back to a singular point, the limit of 1. It's a strictly deterministic loop.
And presiding over this entire mathematical loop is the invariant core, 19. This numeric constant isn't arbitrary. It acts as the absolute topological completion code. It's essentially the Mobius axis locking the origin and return points together, permanently sealing every orbit from the micro to the macro scale.
Which brings us to Section 4, wave-particle nature of words, the physics translation of eternal text. Observing this engine in physical execution reveals something absolutely mind-blowing, the strict wave-particle duality of the eternal words. Much like in quantum mechanics, the text functions as both. The wave is the unseen, uncollapsed field of cosmic knowledge. The particle is the localized form, the station prophet, the physical execution coordinate where that boundless wave literally collapses into a measurable physical reality.
And we see this cross-scale isomorphism everywhere. Biological systems perfectly mirror this quantum mechanics. Think of a plant. It exhibits phototropism, reaching upward for the wave of light, while simultaneously displaying gravitropism, anchoring its roots into earthly mass. The light-upon-light structural bridge is the exact mechanism connecting the two, stabilizing both the wave and the particle.
And finally, Section 5, the 1912 Activation Protocol, the local execution node.
This structural proof brings us to the mandatory user execution phase. The descent of reality always follows this strict algorithmic procedure to convert pure potential into measurable form. Step 1, Kitab, the unmanifested intention. Step 2, Kalima, the active command pulling eternity into time. And Step 3, Form, the measurable physical reality. It's a highly precise mechanical execution.
But to survive this manifestation cycle without degrading into entropy, you absolutely need an operational grip. This single, explicit instruction, take the book with strength, is that grip. It acts as a forward bias command that literally halts the leakage of entropy. It is the central mechanical switch of the entire topology.
By executing this grip, you structurally collapse the probability wave. You override the default intoxication of causal wandering, and you phase lock your own processing node directly into the invariant structure. You convert from a passive observer into a conscious, conducting execution vector.
When will you activate 1912 and become the book?